Hello, hello. So today I'm going to work a tutorial with you guys on this super beautiful beginner friendly moss stitch dishcloth. So I wrote the pattern up a couple weeks ago. I'm just absolutely in love. I love a dishcloth with a border, and so that is what I'm going to show you. Like I said, it's super beginner friendly. This is the colors we're going to work up today, but the color combinations are endless. We can do solid, we can do multicolor, just absolutely endless ideas for colors. And like I said, very beginner friendly. Let's work it together. Okay, so let's go over some of the materials and supplies that we'll need so that we can make this dishcloth. I'm using a medium or worsted weight cotton yarn. This is 100% cotton, I believe Sugars and Cream or Lily's, something like that. You can use a cotton blend if you prefer that. I'm working with a 5mm hook. You're going to need some scissors, you will need a yarn needle, and then if you like stitch markers, then grab some stitch markers. If you're confident without them, then skip the stitch markers. I'm going to use two colors. This will be the body of my dishcloth, and this is going to be my border. So let's get started. One more thing I guess I should mention is I like a smaller dishcloth. So my finished measurements for my dishcloth are 7.5 inches by 7.5 inches. It's perfect for my hand. If you like a bigger dishcloth, I will show you when we get to our chaining how to adjust the pattern. Okay, so let's work our foundation chain. We're going to start with a slip knot. And then the foundation chain for this pattern is 27 chains. If you're wanting to make a bigger dishcloth, not a problem. Add additional chains to the 27. Just make sure it's an odd number and the pattern should work still. So to work a chain, we just yarn over our hook, then we pull that yarn through for another loop. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, 4, 5. So that's what 5 chains looks like. We're going to work 27, and then I will meet you and show you how to work row 1. Okay, so that's my 27th chain. Pretty basic to start off this project. Let's examine this really quickly just to show you how I like to work. This is a personal preference, but I will explain myself. So normally you'll see some people working into this bar when they're coming across. Sometimes they'll work under the entire stitch. Sorry. When they're working across their first row. My personal preference is to turn the work over and actually just work into this singular bar at the back. And I find that leaves a really clean edge if you decide to skip the border. So that's a personal preference. You can work this dishcloth with no border, so I would work it like this if you were going to do that. Let's work row 1 now. So I'm using the moss stitch for this dishcloth. If you'd like to practice it before you start, I have covered it in another video, but I will quickly show you how to get that done. So our very first stitch is going to be a single crochet in the 3rd chain from our hook. So 1, 2, 3, in the 3rd chain, we are going to work a single crochet, and that is worked by inserting our hook under the chain. Then you will yarn over and pull up a loop. This will leave you with 2 on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through both of those loops. So that's a single crochet. If you are confident with no stitch markers, then keep going. You don't have to do this step. If you are more confident with a stitch marker, I would grab one at this point and I would put it through the chain space that was left, just like that, from the 2 other chains that we skipped. We need to work into that when we're working round 2, so this will ensure we don't miss it. So we've worked a single crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. Our next step is going to be chaining 1, and then we're going to skip a stitch and into the following. So skip 1 and into the following, work a single crochet. So again, you just insert your hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. So we have 2 on our hook, and then yarn over and pull through 2. Then you will chain 1. And that's what we're going to repeat across this entire row. So we're going to skip a stitch, single crochet, chain 1 in the next. And you're going to work that all the way across this row, and I will meet you at the end and I will show you how to finish it off, and then we can work row 2 together. I'm just finishing up row 1 here, so single crochet, chain 1. And when you're nearing the end, you're going to see you're going to be left with 2 chains. So I've done my single crochet, chain 1, and I've got 2 chains left. And to finish off row 1, we will work a final single crochet into the last stitch. So skip 1 and then into the last stitch, work a single crochet. And that's finishing off row 1 for you. Nothing too crazy, but this is what you're left with. So you'll see your single crochets and then you'll see your chain spaces. So the chain spaces are important because that's what we're going to work into for the rest of these rows. So let's work row 2 together. So row 2 is our repeated row. We're going to repeat it until we've reached 23 rows total. So keep in mind this is the repeat row. To start it, we are going to chain 2. And I would suggest at this point grabbing another stitch marker, and I would just put it right around that chain 2 and close it off. So now you have a stitch marker marking our chain 2 here. Turn your work around and just keep it to the side. Next, you'll find your first chain space here, and inside that chain space, work a single crochet. Insert your hook, yarn over and pull up a loop so you have 2 on your hook, and then yarn over and pull through 2. Next, you will chain 1, find your next chain space, so just right here, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, work a single crochet, chain 1. And it's that easy, so keep working that all the way across, chain space, single crochet, chain 1, and then I will meet you at the end of row 2 and show you how to finish it off. Okay, so I'm just nearing up the end here. So I'm working a single crochet, chain 1 in my chain space here. And then after that, we have 1 chain space left. Of course, I'm running out of yarn here. We have 1 chain space left, and it's the chain space that we marked with the stitch marker. So sometimes, especially in the first row, it can be a little bit hard to identify that. So that's why I suggest using one. So just remove your stitch marker. And then to finish it off, you work a single crochet into that chain space. And that's the end of our repeated row 2. You'll have something that's starting to look like this. And this dishcloth, at least the body of this dishcloth, is that easy. So you're going to repeat row 2 for, you can work it up until your desired length. If you made a longer chain, for every extra 2 stitches that you did, I would add an extra row. So for myself, we worked 27 chains and I'm working 23 rows. If you're going to work 29 chains, because remember it has to be an odd number, then I would work 24 rows. So that's how you can kind of calculate making it bigger. I don't have a written pattern for that, so I can't provide it, but just off the top of my head, I think that would work. Let me just show you the repeated row one more time, just so that we're confident in finishing off these 23 rows before we start the border. So we're going to chain 2, and then if you want, you can grab that stitch marker and just stick it around there so we don't lose our spot coming around. Turn your work, find your very first chain space, and work a single crochet. Then you will chain 1, find your next chain space, work a single crochet, and chain 1, and keep working that all the way across. So what I love about this dishcloth is, 1, the moss stitch is one of my favorite stitches. It works up really, really quickly. As much as I love crocheting, my attention span is almost non-existent. So working a complicated stitch for a long time or working really big projects just don't really jive with me. Sometimes I'll do it, but it's just not my thing. So the moss stitch dishcloth is like one of my favorites. That's why I wrote the pattern. So what we're going to do is we're just going to keep repeating this row. The one I'm working right now is row 3, but you're going to keep doing it until you've reached a total of 23 rows. And then once we get to 23 rows, I will come back and I will show you how to work the border. Let's finish this one off together. So I've worked my single crochet, chain 1, and then all we have left is this chain space that we've marked with our stitch marker. So just remove that. and work a single crochet in your final stitch. Easy peasy. I do just want to show you something really quickly. I'm going to show you on a different cloth though, because you have a larger sample. So if you're lost, say you start working it and you lose count of how many rows you've done, another thing I love about the moss stitch is the ability to determine what row you're at. So my very first row that I worked on this one here is this purple, let's just call it this purple one here. That's my very first row. And then it actually alternates. So that's row 1, and then if you come over here, row 2, you'll see that little V, row 3, 4, 5, and you can actually count that all the way up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. That's how you can tell how many rows you've done. That's really, really important when we work our border. So I just wanted to give you a quick knowledge of it now if you do get lost before you get to 23 rows. So let's keep working this, and at row 23, I will meet you and we will work the rest of this dishcloth together. Okay, so I'm just coming to the end of my 23rd row, so you'll have something that looks like this. And again, if you're having a hard time figuring out which row you are, you can alternate looking at these V's and count up to see until you have 23 rows. So let's finish this up together. All right, so if you are keeping the same color for the entire project, then this is how you're going to work the last bit. You're just going to work a single crochet into your very last stitch. And then from this point forward, we're going to work the border. So get to this point if you're working it all in the same color. If you're going to do a different color for the border, like I'm doing here with this purple, that's all tangled, then this is how we are going to finish it off. So you will start by, you're going to work the single crochet, but you're going to do a color change. So if you're unfamiliar with how to do it, I will do a quick little explanation here. We're going to start working the single crochet. So insert your hook, then you're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. Now you're going to take your working yarn and you're just going to grab it over here so that it's out of the way, because we're not going to use that anymore. And we're going to finish off our single crochet with our new color of yarn that we're picking. So grab your new yarn, wrap it around your hook, and make sure it's tight. So you're going to want to hold it on both sides so it's tight. And then that is what we're going to pull through to finish our single crochet. So we've finished our single crochet. Now the yarn we're working with, our working yarn, is purple. So that's how we do a color change. I'm going to quickly just clip my yarn so I'm not working with this brown yarn. Okay, so let's now work the border. To start working our border, the first thing we're going to do is a chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. This counts. So your first 2 chains is a half double crochet and your last chain is a chain 1. So your chain 3 at the beginning counts as a half double crochet and a chain 1. So into this same stitch that we've worked, we're going to work another half double crochet. So yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, then we're going to yarn over and we're just going to pull through all 3 loops on our hook. So that's our corner stitch. So half double crochet, chain 1, and your half double crochet. Next, we will chain 1. And this is where I like the moss stitch. When I first started crocheting, I had a really hard time working borders and being able to identify where the lines are or where the rows are. But I find that the moss stitch with those V's helps you identify your rows when you're working your border. So, because like there's no even edge of stitches. So when you work on the bottom, there's stitches you can work into, but on the sides, it's just rows. So it's a little bit kind of rough looking. So this is what I'm going to show you. So I've done my chain 1. This is my very first row. And then I'm going to look, this is my second row. So I'm going to skip this row and into the next one. So this is the row here. So into the top here, work a half double crochet. So yarn over, you're just going to, like I said, there's no stitch, it's kind of rough. So just find kind of 2 places to put your hook. Yarn over, pull up a loop. We've got 3, yarn over, pull through all 3 on our loop. Hook, sorry. Then we will chain 1. So we know we just worked into this row here. So where these V's are, we've worked into that row. We're going to skip this row and we're going to work another half double crochet at the end of the next row. So yarn over, insert your hook into the top there, yarn over and pull up a loop. So we've got 3 and then yarn over and pull through all 3. Then you're going to repeat that across. So chain 1, you're going to skip a row and into the following, work the half double crochet and work that all the way until you get to the next corner. And I will meet you at that corner and show you what to do. Okay, so I'm just finishing up the row. You should have from this half double crochet 11 across. And then this is how we're going to work our corner. So just this first stitch here, in there you're going to work a half double crochet, chain 1, and then into that exact same stitch work 1 more half double crochet. So that's what you'll work in every corner around. I'll start off the next row with you to show you how it's worked, but it's worked the same as we work it here. So let me just quickly show you. We've worked our half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet. We're going to chain 1 to start. And then across this row, we are going to work, you're going to find, to make it easier working this one, you're going to skip your chain space and into the top of the single crochet or bottom of the single crochet. That's where you're going to work your half double crochets. So we've worked our chain 1, we're skipping this chain space here, and into this right here, we're going to work a half double crochet. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. And that's very simple. You're going to work this all the way around. Chain 1, skip the chain space, and you're going to work a half double crochet here. So this is how the border, the first round of the borders worked. You're going to work that all the way around. When you get to the corners, in the corner you will work a half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet, and then you're going to complete that all the way around until we make it back to this corner. I will meet you here and I will show you how to finish off the first round of our border. Okay, so I've come up to the end. I've worked all the way around my dishcloth and I've got a stitch and then my corner. So like I said at the beginning, we have a half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet as my corner. I've worked a final half double crochet and a chain 1. So to finish it off, we're going to work a slip stitch into the chain space that we've made at the very beginning. So just a slip stitch is inserting your hook, yarn over, and then you're just going to take that farthest yarn and continue to pull that through the loop that's already on there. So I'll show you one more time. To finish off row 1, we're going to work a slip stitch into the chain space, insert your hook, yarn over and pull it through, and then pull it through that other loop. So that's the end of row 1 of your border. Let's do row 2. This one's a very easy, quick one, and then we've finished the dishcloth. So to start row 2 of our border, or round 2, we're going to chain 1. That does not count as a stitch. So in this chain space, we're going to work 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, so there's 3 single crochets. And then this is repeated for the rest of this line here. We're going to chain 1, find our first chain space, and single crochet, chain 1. So single crochet, chain 1. Find your next chain space, single crochet, chain 1, and you're going to work that all the way to the corner, and I will meet you here. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the end here. I'll work my final single crochet, chain 1, And then this is the half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet that the corner that we did in our first round. And in the chain 1 space between those half double crochets, we're going to work 3 single crochets. Then you will work a chain 1, and then that's what we're going to do all the way across till the very beginning of our dishcloth. So we are going to do in every single chain space a single crochet, chain 1, and then when you reach the corners, you work 3 single crochets in the corner chain space, and then keep working the single crochet, chain 1 in the rest of the chain spaces around. So I will meet you at the very end of this round, and we will finish this dishcloth up together. Okay, so like I told you, it is a pretty quick round to work. So I'm going to work my final single crochet, chain 1, and then this is the first corner we worked. So you can see your 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3. This here is the top of your first single crochet. So this one here, remember we didn't count the chain 1 as a stitch, so that top of that first single crochet we did in that first corner, into that stitch we are going to work a slip stitch to finish this off. So insert your hook, then you're just going to, yarn over, pull through 2 on your hook, and then take that and then pull it right through that second loop on your hook, and you are finished. So freaking adorable. So let's finish it off completely. Snip, snip your yarn. You're going to pull that through. And this is where our yarn needle comes in to play. So if you're not familiar with weaving in ends, you grab your yarn needle, find all the ends you have to weave in. So on the back of my work, I can see them all. You are going to grab a yarn needle appropriate for the project. You will insert your yarn through it just like that. Leave just a small tail end here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to weave this in. I would suggest maybe weaving it in a little bit more than you normally would on another project. Dishcloths obviously are used quite often, and it's not just like a hat that's being worn on your head. You are vigorously using them, so you don't want the yarn to unravel, because then what was the point of making the project in the first place? So I actually like to work the yarn through quite a few stitches, and then once I've worked through about halfway, I like to then go back the other direction, and I like to work it back the other way also. And then I know for sure, I mean, not 100% guarantee, but relatively close, that my yarn's not going to unravel after my first use or first wash, and that I'll have a dishcloth that lasts me longer than 1 use. So that's just that end here. I won't make you watch me do all of the weaving in, but that's one of mine woven in. If you want, you could tie a knot. I'm not going to, so I'm just going to snip it now that I've done the weaving in. I will weave in these other ends, and then we will look at the final product together. All right, so here's the finished product. So this is the moss stitch dishcloth. I am in love with it. I love the contrast of the 2 colors, so a different color for the border. That's a personal preference. It looks really great with just a solid color also. Here's an example, a little bit darker, but still just as stunning. Like I said, there's so many different color combos you can do with this. I've worked hundreds of these, like absolutely hundreds. I make them for all my family members. I make them for myself. Such an easy project, super, super quick. Very beginner friendly. If you are looking for a written pattern, if it's not up in my Etsy store already, it should be shortly. And if you're looking for a quicker tutorial, check out my TikTok. There is a tutorial on there. Again, this is the moss stitch dishcloth. I'm hoping that this tutorial helped you guys figure it all out. Thanks for joining.